Inspired by China's model for growth, Narendra Modi's election in 2014 has signaled India's desire for change. But it has also raised some concerns. How will Modi's new government navigate India-Pakistan relations? And what does the country's growing role on the world stage mean for US-India relations? India Rising, next on Great Decisions. India proudly refers to itself as the world's largest democracy.
I can't think of any Indian who wouldn't be proud of their democracy. We wouldn't swap it for an alternative way of governance.
President Clinton was the first U.S. president to really take a look at India and say, you know what? This country's rise is in our interest. It's a great democracy. Our companies can work well together. What can we do to cement our ties with this growing democracy?
India outperforms China in democracy terms. Indians have just conducted the largest election in human history. 500 million people voted a government into office in a clear and decisive way. China doesn't do that.
A British colony until 1947. It was the Congress Party led by independence leader Mahatma Gandhi that has dominated India's political landscape.
It's an elite group of people, the Gandhi Nehrus, and all the people around them, English-speaking, educated abroad, with a very cosmopolitan attitude toward the world.
The Nehru-Gandhi dynasty has governed India virtually all of the years since its creation as a modern state. The first Prime Minister of India, the founding father, Jawaharlal Nehru, was the founder of this dynasty and the founder, really, of modern India. His daughter, Indira Gandhi, she was the figure who made India a nuclear state, led India through its decisive victory in 1971 with Pakistan. She was assassinated in 1984, and her son, Rajiv Gandhi, was the third member of this dynasty. He too was assassinated in the early 1990s by Sri Lankan rebels.
But as the Congress Party would learn, dynastic popularity does not always translate into sound governance. For decades, India's socialist economy left it closed off to the rest of the world, lacking the economic growth to correspond to its tremendous human potential.
India came into independence deeply suspicious, having been subject to an imperial power, Britain, of having foreigners own the country.
It was protectionist, it was socialist, it was growing at between 1% and 3% when the rest of Asia was speeding along at 2 or 3 times that number. We had practically no foreign products available. International travel was rare. It wasn't a closed society, but it was a closed economy.
Only after India received a bailout from the international community did it start to reform.
In the early 1990s, India's balance of payment was on the verge of exploding. The IMF was demanding that India do something to bring in more money.
And in the 90s, they realized that they were slipping behind, and they began a set of moves that take India to where she is today.
These reforms did a lot. They swept away a lot of what was referred to as the license permit Raj, a series of bureaucratic red tape and other impediments that really kept India shackled up until that point.
India's economy began to boom, nearly quadrupling in size over the next 20 years. But in 2004, with former Finance Minister Singh in power, what many assumed would be another economic miracle did not materialize.
We will give to the world and to our people a model of economic reforms.
Indian growth began to fall, and that's had a substantial impact on the way people thought about India, first as, an investment destination or a market that people needed to be in. But within India, having lower growth means that there are fewer jobs being created.
corruption became a central issue.
In many ways, you could argue that some of the corruption scandals in India helped lead to the election of Prime Minister Modi as an alternative to the Congress Party government.
In 2014, that frustration helped sweep to power Narendra Modi. Modi campaigned on promises to overhaul India's infrastructure, build high-speed rail networks, and to implement a series of pro-business economic reforms.
He has a vision of a more modern India, an India whose economy would be much more geared towards generating employment. I think the country is braced for some profound transformation.
If he fulfills the promises that he has talked about in terms of changing India, if he actually changes the way India does business, that will have a very large impact and a long-term impact on India.
Now more than 1 billion people strong, India hopes to become a global powerhouse, not just economically, but with a growing role on the world stage.
65% of our population is under 35. We've got a striking potential to be, for the next generation of the world, what China has been for the previous one, the youthful, dynamic engine of change.
India wants to be China's equal. India wants to be China's friend. India wants to be China's trading partner. India does not want to be China's rival and certainly not China's enemy.
It's often said that there are two Indias, astounding poverty in the shadow of wealth and growth.
There's an India that's been growing at Southeast Asian rates of growth, the South and the Western states of India, but there is a part of India that has not grown as quickly over the course of the last 15 years.
They have hundreds of millions of utterly devastatingly poor people. Their social indicators in education, in health, in a lot of other ways, are right down there bumping up with sub-Saharan Africa.
The biggest challenge the government faces is really to get growth up again. It needs to not just get growth up, but have it as employment-based growth, because there is a big gap today between people looking for jobs and jobs the economy is creating, a gap in millions.
Corruption and bureaucratic red tape costs the economy hundreds of millions of dollars each year.
Indian manufacturing is operating at only a fraction of its long-term capability. A lot of this has to do with infrastructure. India has terribly outdated and terribly insufficient infrastructure in roads, ports, airports. India's bureaucracy is a huge deadweight on Indian manufacture. India's corruption at all levels really holds back manufacture. China has corruption, but it also has efficiency.
One of the challenges many economists have identified has been very restrictive labor laws in India, which have made it difficult to hire people because you can't fire people easily.
We'll see if they will actually change some of these labor laws, land laws, industrial laws that will make it easier for India to manufacture at home.
India has a population of over 1 billion people. It should be able to compete with China in manufacturing. Instead, they are playing catch-up.
China started welcoming foreign investment when its own industry was in tatters after the Cultural Revolution. It's also a society that lends itself much more to creating conditions for manufacturing, in terms of political directions and social management. China's had a much longer history than we have of what they call migrant labor, that is labor which moves out of their homes in search of employment. That's very necessary for an industrial economy, for a manufacturing economy.
Most economists believe that for India to really unleash economic growth, it has to deal with these larger questions of continued government control of some parts of the economy.
India differs from China in another key way. It's a democracy.
We are a democracy, they're not. We grow somewhat more slowly than China does, but we tend to grow taking our people along with us. China's strong in hardware, we're stronger in software. We tend to be a problem-solving nation.
Part of the great growth and the rapid uptick in the Indian economy over the course of the last decade has been the contribution of its services sector, which has been contributing, 59% of GDP.
You have a sense that Indians, while they're in constant stir and flow, they accept their political order because that's the one that works for them. China, however, has had about 20 years head start on India in the economics.
I think there's a lot of recognition in India that while they would like to achieve the kind of growth China has, they're doing it in a very different context, in a democratic context and in a multi-ethnic society.
In my view, I would rather debate longer and get it right than debate less and get it wrong.
India also faces periodic violence between its majority Hindu population and its Muslim minority.
Modi was denied a visa to enter the U.S. During the Bush administration because of allegations that he had been complicit in a series of pogroms that left over 1,000 Muslims dead in Gujarat, the state of which he was chief minister at the time.
Some fear the election of Modi from the Hindu nationalist party, the BJP, will lead to renewed tensions.
He has subsequently been cleared under various investigations, but there are still some concerns among some minorities in India about whether he's going to be truly the Prime Minister of all Indians.
He is a man who doesn't want to speak English. He is a Hindu nationalist. He is among those who believe more or less that India should be peopled by Hindus and that everyone should speak Hindi.
I suppose his electoral victory obliges us all to move on from the taint of the past to look to what he can represent in the future.
He has made it very clear that he would govern by the Constitution, that he regards all citizens of India as equal partners in the enterprise of progress. If the Indian electorate has given its verdict, I think we all need to trust that.
Perhaps nowhere does India face a greater challenge than in its relationship with Pakistan.
India is forever concerned about the insecure border with Pakistan. India is so far and away more powerful than Pakistan, but it still is concerned that this country is a potential source of a lot of trouble for India.
If they have any idea of taking a chunk of my territory in East Pakistan, let me warn you, and I warn the world, that this will mean war.
India and Pakistan have been on a collision course throughout their histories, but they also have been trying to build a more productive relationship. Both Nawaz Sharif and Narendra Modi want to have a better, peaceful, more harmonious relationship. But Modi has a reputation for being a pretty hardline actor in regard to Pakistan.
The two nations have been fierce rivals since the end of British rule brought them into being.
As the British Raj collapsed and walked away in the aftermath of World War II, they created lines on a map, and thus was created Pakistan. They left unresolved questions like who should control Kashmir. So all of these created seeds for further conflict.
There's been limited interaction. You've had textbooks on both sides, in some ways creating hostility and having that picture of Pakistan as the enemy or India as the enemy. And that's something that's hard to break out of.
Islamic militants based in Kashmir have carried out numerous terrorist attacks in India. Islamabad denies any involvement, saying the attacks were carried out by rogue groups.
Perhaps one of the touchiest points, the point of raw ugliness between Pakistan and India, is still the aftermath of the terrorist attack in Mumbai that killed civilians in the hotel there. That evidence is mounted that it was carried out by Pakistani-based terrorist groups.
And the perpetrators were Lashkar-e-Taiba, a group based in Pakistan and historically tied to Pakistan's intelligence agency.
We have to find a way of living with each other as neighbors without recourse to actions like terrorism. Neighbors have problems. Neighbors even have disputes. But in this day and age, people are supposed to settle their issues and problems and disputes in a certain way.
Both nations possess nuclear weapons, raising the stakes of continued friction.
President Clinton famously called India-Pakistan border the most dangerous place in the world.
These are two countries that have the power to destroy each other many, many times over, and have not yet reached a full understanding of the mechanisms to prevent a crisis from spiraling into Armageddon.
When I was still ambassador to Pakistan in December of 2001, India and Pakistan came very, very close to nuclear warfare then. It had been triggered by the really unforgivable terrorist attack in front of the Indian parliament.
What will happen to Pakistan's nuclear weapons in a country that is hardly, at times, functioning? It's a terrible recipe for disaster, and we're waiting for the other shoe to drop, I'm afraid.
India's nuclear program was a heated topic in its relationship with the U.S. as well, until 2005, when the two sides signed a historic nuclear deal. The deal allows them to trade in material for India's civilian nuclear energy program and expands cooperation in satellite and energy fields.
In 1998, both India and Pakistan tested nuclear weapons. Neither country has signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. This created a certain amount of tension in the US-India relationship.
After a lot of negotiation, India was able to strike a deal with the United States and with the Nuclear Suppliers Group and the other international stakeholders to allow it to be an out-of-the-closet nuclear power.
The nuclear deal was the single biggest hurdle to cooperation between the U.S. and India. Finding a way to work closely with India on nuclear power, on the civil nuclear power component of India's nuclear program was an important achievement.
If we have today a flourishing relationship in defense and trade, part of it is because a lot of rules and regulations which were antiquated changed as a result of the nuclear deal.
This has angered some, because it reverses years of international nuclear non-proliferation efforts aimed at preventing so-called rogue nations such as North Korea and Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons.
This nuclear agreement between the US and India caused a lot of opposition, both in the United States and around the world, even in India too. What's to stop other nations that want to be nuclear states from deciding that they, too, should be able to come out of the nuclear closet?
And then the Indian Parliament turned around and added a new law saying, but any foreign government that comes here is going to be responsible to the end of time if there's a nuclear accident.
Many feel that they worked very hard to help get this deal passed. It required passing a new law in the U.S. Congress to make it a reality. The fact that India's nuclear liability law makes it difficult for U.S. companies to find a way to operate in India has been a matter of some concern around Washington.
Others see it as yet another sign of the emergence of a new India that will play a fundamental role in maintaining global stability.
It changed the narrative of the India-US relationship for the better, in the sense that you did not hear what you used to historically hear in India, which is that the US was out to prevent India's rise.
India has contributed money and personnel to help stabilize Afghanistan, and it helps counter China's growing regional authority.
The American-Indian relationship has been radically transformed over the past 25 years. India was of distant secondary interest, and Indians looked to us as somewhat hostile and certainly not very friendly. Since 1990, that's changed, and it will never go back.
There has been dramatically expanded cooperation between the United States and India across almost every area of bilateral engagement you can think of. The United States has mobilized more than $2 billion on finding ways to work together with India on things like biofuels research, other forms of clean energy, shale gas cooperation, research, physics.
India's relationship with China is also likely to evolve.
We have our own independent relationship with China. It's not been without problems. We fought a war in 1962, the wounds of which have still not healed. We have the world's largest or longest unresolved frontier dispute. But at the same time, we have crossed over $70 billion in trade, and there's a tremendously mounting interest and curiosity in each other, particularly on the economic front.
This relationship can go in two directions. It could strengthen in the areas where they have positive momentum, that would be in the economic space. The security side is much more challenging. There is an active border dispute between India and China.
We have envoys who are appointed, representatives actually, who are appointed to negotiate and settle that. That is still work in progress. We've always taken a very pragmatic view of settlement of disputes in a way in which it works for everybody.
The U.S. and India frequently draw upon their shared love of democracy. The relationship looks set to continue.
The shared interests between the U.S. and India are far stronger and far more important than the differences between the two countries. Here we have two nations that really benefit from stability in Asia and in the world order.
For India, we represent a market, technology, capital, and a sense of security in a troubled Asia. We need a strong India to be the balance in the Asian equation. We have Japan and Korea in the north. We need India to anchor the south.
I think the key issues that matter to India, reviving economic growth, modernizing the economy, particularly the infrastructure, getting a favorable external environment, making sure the homeland is more secure. I think the United States can be a key partner on all these concerns. The U.S. clearly is moving to a phase of its international relations where it needs stronger friends, countries with which it has convergences of interest.
President Obama invited Prime Minister Modi to Washington shortly after his election to strengthen ties between the countries and to avoid jeopardizing trade relations.
India is going to clearly be one of the world's great economic players. Will it be as large, the economy as large as China's? No, but it'll be up there. And it will be one of the top 3 or 4 most important economies and markets for Americans, goods and services, for years and years to come.
Trade between the U.S. and India now reaches almost $100 billion a year, a 400% increase since 2000. India is also a growing market for American defense manufacturers.
Defense trade was almost zero about a decade ago and has now surpassed something like $9 billion.
The U.S. is already among the largest defense suppliers to India, if not the largest. We have today 3 U.S. aircraft in our inventory. We have a number of systems in all services. We have a U.S. vessel in our Navy. This is an area where we've seen some pretty robust activity.
India wants to play a greater international role with a permanent seat on the UN Security Council.
India has for years been focused on seeking a permanent seat, and that's something that the United States endorsed. India is definitely interested in doing more globally there.
What we have seen from India's history is that it is supportive of global institutions, of norms, of rules, and of law and order in general, and people respecting them. What they would like is more of a say in how those norms and institutions function.
The fact that the second largest country in the world is not on the Security Council permanently is an anomaly. I think if you look at the history of India, you look at the support base that we have internationally, a lot of countries trust our judgment.
It all adds up to an India that's demanding and getting a larger role in global affairs. With New Delhi sharing much of Washington's vision for the future, the two powers will likely be increasingly important partners for years to come.
Great Decisions is produced by the Foreign Policy Association in association with Thomson Reuters. Funding for Great Decisions is provided by PricewaterhouseCoopers, LLP.